Okay, I'm going to show you today how to make the blanket wrap. It's a really simple project and a great one to use with scraps. You don't need a pattern for this one because all of the fabric that you're going to cut out is just cut into squares. I've already cut my squares out. I'm going to make a 10-inch wrap today. Cut my squares, I've cut my ribbon, got that ready to go. I'll just set that aside. The first thing you're going to do, you can do all one fabric if you would like, or you can do a contrasting fabric on the outside and the inside. I'm going to use this pink floral for the outside today and the white flannel for the inside. If you're going to do a contrasting fabric, you need to make sure that you cut out 2 squares for the fabric that you would like to be on the inside of the wrap. The first thing that you're going to do is cut one of your squares into a diagonal. This needs to be the square that you want on the inside. This is going to make the pocket that's going to be on the inside of the wrap. If you're unsure, make sure that you mark maybe with a fabric pencil or marker. I'm just going to use my ruler here to help me cut this in half so that I've got 2 triangles. You're only going to use one of these. You can set the other triangle aside to make another wrap later, put in your scrap pile, whatever. So we're going to start with these 3 pieces, our inside, our outside, and then our inside of our pocket. Okay, the first thing that you're going to do after cutting your triangle is you're going to take the piece that you would like to be the outside of your blanket. You're going to take your ribbon and you are going to lay it across your square in the diagonal like this. This is going to be what you tie your blanket wrap closed with at the end. You're going to want to mark the center, kind of come down your things and find the center, your corners, and find the center of the wrap. Make sure that you're centered on your ribbon, and you're just going to do a couple of stitches down the very center of that and stitch that ribbon into place. So once that's done, you can set that piece aside. You're going to take your triangle piece and we're going to get that ready to attach. We need to make a little hem along this so that we don't have fraying. So if you've got a serger, use that. If you don't, just use a zigzag on your machine. Serge or zigzag across this side. Then you're going to turn it to the wrong side of the fabric, turn it under 1/4 of an inch, and top stitch along that to finish off that edge so that you've got a nice clean edge on your pocket. Okay, now that I have finished the little hem on my pocket, I need to attach the pocket to the lining of the blanket wrap. So I'm going to take the piece of fabric that I plan to have on the inside if I'm contrasting. If you're not contrasting and everything's the same, then it doesn't matter. You pick up the pocket that does not have the ribbon sewn into it. You want to make sure that you've got, mine's backwards, that you've got right sides up. We're going to place both. This gets confusing sometimes because you're used to putting right sides together or wrong sides together. In this case, we want the right side of both pieces facing up. So this is going to be the right side of my fabric, this is the right side of my fabric. I'm going to lay the square, or the triangle that I made, on top of the lining piece, and I'm going to match the bottom corner. Our side corners are not going to match because we folded that under. And that's okay because this is all going to be sewn in together anyway, and it'll be just fine. It's a little bit weird at first. You're going to go ahead and pin that, and then you're just going to sew those 2 pieces together along these sides to create the pocket. Okay, our next step, you can see that I've sewn my pocket in. Got that now, it's been sewn along the edges. Now it's time to put the top piece with the bottom piece, or the outer with the inner lining. You're going to take your piece that you have your ribbon attached to, and you're going to be sewing these together. You're going to have this ribbon kind of floating around on the inside of this, and you want to be careful that you don't catch it in the side seam. So I like to just kind of fold my ribbon up and stick a pin through it, just so that I can make sure that it's not going to accidentally get out to the edge and be sewn in to my wrap, and then I have to unpick it and fix. So I just fold it up and stick a pin in it. It's in the center. You don't have to worry about that getting in your machine or anything. It's just to hold that ribbon in place. Now you're going to take right sides together. So we're going to fold this back over, turn it back over. You're going to have the ribbon on the inside and the pocket on the inside. So right sides together of your fabrics. You're going to pin this together to get it ready to sew. And you're going to want to make sure, I always like to stick a pin. We need to leave an opening to flip this right side out, and I like to just stick a pin to remind me not to sew for about a 2-inch space so that I have room to do that. So I kind of like to go this just so that I remember I have a pin going in the wrong way so that I stop and remember to actually finish sewing right there so that I wind up with a hole to be able to turn my blanket inside out. So once you've got that pinned, go ahead and just sew around the entire outside except for this spot where you've got your 2-inch opening to be able to flip it, and then we're just about done. Okay, I've gone around the edge. You might notice that my corners have been clipped. I'm just going to take this last one and just very carefully clip the very corner off of the square all the way around. Be careful not to get into your seam right there though. The reason that we do that is because when you flip it around, sometimes those corners get a little bit bulky, and so we just clip that to decrease the bulk. You are going to find your open edge. Mine's right here. You're just going to carefully flip the blanket around. Be careful when you're doing this. If you pin your ribbon on the inside, just be careful not to poke yourself. When you flip it around, you can take that pin out and let your ribbon fly free. Once you get it flipped around, you want to make sure that your corners are poked out nice. Sometimes you can just kind of take your thumb and just kind of poke it down. I've also got this little bamboo tool that I like to just kind of poke carefully. If you use an object like that, you want to be really careful when you do those corners so that you don't poke through the seam. That can be really easy to do. You just want to make sure that they're poked out nice and square all the way around on all of those corners. Once you have your corners poked out and everything's flipped, you'll be able to see how this is going to go together. There we go. So now what you've got is the inside of your blanket wrap. You've got the outside of your blanket wrap. When it's finished, you'll be folding it up like this and tying your ribbon around the outside. But obviously we need to finish off this open edge. You're just going to take your blanket and press it around the edge. Make sure that your seams are pushed out fully so that you don't have weird gaps and zigzags and things on it. Press it really nice. Then you're going to take this little open space that you have when you're pressing it. You just want to turn those raw edges to the inside. Make sure that it's laying so that it looks as though you have no opening at all, and press it down that way when you're going around. After you've pressed it, you're just going to take a quick top stitch all the way around the edge to finish it, and then we'll be done. Okay, I've gone around the edge with the top stitch. Double checked to make sure that my opening caught in my stitch. If it did not, you want to make sure that where you had your opening, that those raw edges on the inside are top stitched in. This is a time when you can do some decorative stitching for your top stitching, anything to kind of dress that up a little bit if you would like to. Once that's done, you can just take your blanket, fold it up, take your ribbon and tie that together. You've got yourself a really cute little blanket wrap that we can use for our really small angels that are difficult to dress because of arm sleeves and collars or necks that are difficult to get over little heads.